Hey, what's up guys? Sorry I'm here, bringing to you a Lunalight deck profile, which will be effective for when the new support comes out in Legendary Duelists, Sisters of the Rose, which comes out on January 11th of 2019. Now, I kind of want to just profile this deck because I think it's a lot of fun. It's very combo oriented and I would say rather unconventional for how many people are playing the deck, even keeping in mind the new support. But essentially, I think this deck actually can contend pretty well. It is a combo dark variant that attempts to make big boards going first. It can obviously break boards and do well going second due to the nature of the deck. So it's definitely a pick that I really do enjoy playing, and I think can actually be pretty competitive considering the boards that it can churn out. Spoiler alert, I may or may not be playing this at a regional qualifier, so definitely excited for this deck profile. I'm going to be assuming that many of you watching right now do know what the Lunalight cards do. Um, I'm just going to be explaining more so the overall strategy of the deck because it is rather unintuitive, I would say, to most people who are not familiar with this sort of strategy. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get right into the deck profile here. Also, you may have noticed from the last video or a couple of videos that I changed my lighting setup. So hopefully the video looks quite nice. There are some shadows, I'm aware of this, but I think the shadows are kind of unavoidable. But when I lay out the cards like this, it should be fine. Right, so for the Lunalight monsters, we're playing 3 copies of Kaleido Chick, 3 Tiger, 2 Yellow Martin. Yeah, these are the sick proxies that I have until we get the actual cards. 2 copies of Emerald Bird, and 1 copy of Wolf. So you might be saying, wait, where is Black Sheep? Only 1 wolf? What are you doing? Okay, alright, so let me explain. Right, this deck is essentially what I like to call Tiger Turbo, where you essentially use Kaleido Chick, Emerald Bird, and Yellow Martin to set up, and then you use Tiger over and over again to repeatedly make link plays, rank 4 plays, etc. You're essentially just trying to make a huge board which involves either summoning Azathoth on your opponent's turn, setting multiple Fall Blades, getting a couple of rank 4s on board, or even making the Chariot Beast against Sky Strikers. All of these are possible with the new Lunalight support, which is fantastic. For those of you who aren't aware, Yellow Martin is the archetypal Zephyros. So if she's in hand or grave, you can target a Lunalight card in your field, return it to the hand, and if you do, special summon it in defense position, but it gets banished if it leaves the field. That's a fantastic way to reuse Tiger, so you can use her effect multiple times per turn, which is exactly what we're going for. And then her other effect is if she's sent to the grave via a card effect, you get to search your deck for any Lunalight spell or trap. We are playing the 1 copy of Serenade Dance, which is very integral to a lot of the plays, as fellow YouTuber Azalea and I have deemed the trifecta, which we'll get into a bit later on. But Yellow Martin is very easy to trigger in this build because we're trying to turbo out Curious, the Lightsworn Dominion, as fast as possible. That opens up a lot of plays for us. This could also be sent via the Emerald Bird, which on summon is kind of like a Zodiac Thoroughblade. You pitch a Lunalight card, draw a card, and then if the Emerald Bird itself is sent to the grave by a card effect, it's either a Monster Reborn or a DDR, essentially. So really, really good for recycling resources. This is like your bread and butter, I would say, is like Kaleido Chick, Tiger, Martin, and Emerald Bird. I was playing one of these originally, but the second one kept coming up where you can like send it to the grave like via either of Curious's effects, the first or second, and then get additional pluses. And then something off of the Serenade Dance is actually quite nice because you can just cycle a card and keep going. And then the Wolf is here literally just for the late game push. It's not required for any of the combos, but it is very nice to close out the game with the late game Leo Dancer, so that's what it's there for. It's very, very easy to tutor out because you just dump it with Kaleido Chick, and then Tiger can bring it back on a later turn, and then Yellow Martin can bounce it back to your hand. So you don't even need Black Sheep in any of these combos. We're not trying to fusion summon a bunch, we're just trying to link and Xyz spam, which is, I would say, a rather unconventional way to build Lunalights, but yeah, it's a very compact engine, and I think that it's very specialized in what it does, and you'll see once we get to our other engines that we're playing in the deck. Alright, so that's it for the Lunalight cards. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 Lunalight monsters. Alright, moving on, we're playing a Dark engine. So we're playing 3 copies of Dark Grepher, 1 copy of Armageddon Knight, because it's at 1, obviously, and then 1 copy of Blackwing Zephyr Elite. So what does this do for the deck? Grepher is essentially more copies of Armageddon Knight, but because of the other engine that we're playing, it's actually better. What you're trying to do with this is send stuff like Yellow Martin or Emerald Bird to trigger their effects. Really good. It's also a warrior, obviously, so it's another type for Curious, which is splendid. And then same goes for Armageddon Knight. You're just trying to trigger your Lunalight monster effects, set up for Tiger, set up for Perfume, stuff like that. These really are just enablers, a good starter cards, and if you do happen to be able to summon Grepher like with its own summoning condition without using normal summon, they're nice to draw into later on for extenders. And Zephyros has always been good in Lunalights. I would say even more pure builds would make use of running Zephyros just because of how well it synergizes with a lot of the cards, particularly Tiger. So that's what this engine's here for. These are just all different types that you can use to make Curious with. Zephyros is also the target that you search off the Force Strix, which is really good. It's part of the trifecta. So essentially, this is the last card that you want to discard in your major combo sequence to be able to get it in the grave and then go from there. And the fact that you can search it and then dump it makes it a very, very good toolboxing option for your deck. So that's it for the Dark package. And next, the Spice package that I don't really see people playing, but here we go. We got Danger cards. I'm sorry I'm proxying Nessies, I just don't own the Nessies. But we got 3 copies of Danger Nessie, 1 copy of Jackalope, and 1 copy of Tsuchinoko, aka Sneck. Sneck is great. Anyway, I digress. Nessie's actually the best one. So the idea is that with your Dark Grepher, if you draw both of these together, you can pitch the Nessie, special summon the Grepher. Nessie can search either one of these two, just in case you happen to draw one of them, you have more options. And then you can Grepher pitch the one that you search off the Nessie to be able to send like a Yellow Martin or an Emerald Bird if you have other setup. It's just really, really good for facilitating a lot of combos. And that's why it's super good, because you have, if you draw Grepher with it, you have Grepher plus whichever one of these, which is either a beast or a reptile, and then all your Lunalights are beast warriors. Your Force Strix is a winged beast, so you got a lot of different types going. Just helps make Curious really quickly. These also have very good synergy with Lunalight Perfume, because even though Perfume is a discard cost, these trigger off costs, discarding for costs, unlike the Dark Worlds, which makes these cards really dumb, obviously. They're just really good for generating card economy. And the thing I really like about this, like the Danger package, as well as the Dark engine, is that you don't have to draw the Grepher and the Nessie together for this to work. Like if you draw Grepher by itself, and you have a revival card in the form of Perfume or Tiger, you could just send Lunalight cards and have your Lunalight play started. Or if you draw like Nessie by itself or like any Danger by itself, they're just more extenders. They help let you dig for stuff like Soul Charge or other like monsters that you might need, like Perfumes and stuff. They help you dig and put bodies on board, and they're just all really, really good extenders. It's similar to the philosophy behind them being run the Dark Goki builds that were popping up a couple months back. Really good cards, and I think that they're definitely worth their spots in the deck. And like Grepher just kind of ties everything together, because all the new Lunalights want to be sent to the grave by card effects, and well, Grepher is probably the best way to do so while facilitating dangers to help make Curious. So I think it's just incredible synergy. You definitely want to be running this package, in my opinion. And then finally, for some engine requirements, we're playing the 1 copy of the Phantom Knights of Silent Boots. This is to be sent off your Rusty Bardache, and if you do draw it, that is a little bit unfortunate, but it's not really the worst thing, because there's so many ways to discard cards that like you can get it to grave and get 1 search anyway, so it's fine. And then instead of investing 3 monsters into Bardache, you can just make rank 4s instead. So not really that much of a garnet. It's not a bad card to draw by any means. And then 1 copy of excuse me for the proxy. I left my copy of this card in Philadelphia, where I go to school. But Gold Bulb. Yeah, this shouldn't be proxied. I feel bad about it, but I'm gonna do it anyway. So Gold Bulb is a card that you can send off Curious if you manage to establish a trifecta beforehand. So I guess I should talk about this trifecta now. So essentially what you're trying to do is summon 4 Strix to get Zephyrs to hand. You want to be able to try and trigger Yellow Martin's effect to search for your copy of Serenade Dance. And then either by milling it with Curious or just hard drawing it, you want Perfume engrave as well. So Perfume will be engraved by some means. If it was in hand, then you would have gotten an additional monster on field, which is great. You banish it from grave to dump it through the Serenade Dance to get a search. And then Serenade Dance can banish itself to pitch the Zephyros to summon anything out of your deck. I do want to add with this combo is if you summon Emerald Bird and like you say you have like Tiger and everything you need already, you could summon Emerald Bird off of this to pitch whatever you search off the Perfume to get a free draw. It lets you cycle through cards. Dig for Extender is really good. So that's just awesome. And if you manage to get all of this before making Curious, that means Curious can send Gold Bulb instead. And what that means is that you can make Naturia Beast against Striker because we play Reaper in the extra deck, which turns any level 4s into an Earth monster, which is just really, really good against the Sky Striker matchup. And I think that, honestly, the amount of toolboxing this deck has, like, you don't even mind, like, you know, milling Gold Bulb because, like, later on, even if you don't need to make that beast, later on you could just summon it. It's free link fodder. It's never really a bad card. If you happen to draw it, it's kind of like Silent Boots. You can pitch it to grave. There's so many ways to get into graveyard. That's not bad. And honestly, just having it in your hand and not having to worry about it, like about trying to mill it, it just makes your Curious play even better. So, like, there's just so many advantages to playing these cards. Now, a card that is worth mentioning here, while I am here talking about cards that you want to mill, is Destrito. I really want to play this card. Right now, my build is 40 cards, and I hate playing more, but there is a case to be made that, like, well, decks like Goki could play more than that because of, like, engine requirements and stuff, but this card is really good because of FA Dawn Dragster, which is super good in cases where Naturia Beast isn't good. So stuff like Altergeist, you can make Dragster plus the Azathoth play. I think that's a lot better, obviously, than Naturia Beast. This card is just super good against like random rogue matchups, like True Draco, you know, stuff like that. So really good. Definitely would consider. And the thing with Destrito is it's extra synergy with Greffer because as a dog you can pitch to special the Greffer or you can send it off the Greffer. So you know you have a lot of flexibility in that respect as well, and Armageddon Knight as well. So these cards are definitely worth considering. Very good. I would either side this or maybe side the Bulb and the Naturia Beast. Like, I don't want to go without having access to Dragster just because it's super good against decks that Naturia Beast isn't good against. But I digress. So that is it for the monster lineup. It is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 1, 2, 3, 23 monsters. Alright, moving on to the spells. We have the standard 3 copies of Tenki. You just need consistency, obviously. 3 copies of Perfume. This card is super duper important, not only to try and draw into, of course, but just getting it engraved helps you set up so much because you are able to search for a lot of cards that want to be engraved. So like this is just your gateway into getting everything into grave set up properly, which is super good. We got triple Call by the Grave. You don't really want to get hand trapped because this is a going first build, and it's just super solid. Just because like you really would rather not be interrupted. This deck can play through interruption, but just to make like the most optimal board setups, you really just want to make sure you don't get stopped. All right, so that's it for those spells. Next up, we got the 1 copy of Rhoda to search Greffer or Armageddon Knight. I actually search Greffer a lot more than Armageddon Knight. It's just a lot more conducive to the plays that this deck has in particular. A cool thing you can do actually is if you open, say you open like a way to get to Greffer plus Emerald Bird and like Kaleido Check or something, or like Tenkis and stuff. With Tenki it might be different because you might want to search something else, but you can go Greffer, pitch Emerald Bird, or sorry, pitch. You can pitch Emerald Bird and then pitch Yellow Martin, and then Martin can trigger its effect. And there's like other ways we can do it the reverse way. Like if you draw Martin, you can like pitch Emerald or dump Emerald Bird, and Emerald Bird can trigger. So like there's a lot of ways to like, finagle things around. If you're able to like special the Emerald Bird back, obviously, then you can just pitch draw. So yeah, that like I kind of like rambled on a bit there, but you get the idea. We have one copy of Foolish Burial to just help get your graveyard started. Honestly, this is probably the weakest card out of like the entire spell lineup, I would say. It's just not necessary in a lot of cases. It's a decent enough extender, but like sometimes on its own it doesn't do enough. So I would experiment with maybe cutting this. This build is not necessarily finalized. And I'll actually get to some honorable mentions later on. We got one copy of Reborn, one copy of Soul Charge. These cards are just crazy, just extenders, really good. You dump your entire deck into the graveyard, so Soul Charge is just like massive value. And then we got the one copy of the Phantom Knight's Rank Up Magic Launch. So what this card does is if you're able to summon Evil Swarm Thanatos, set this off the Bardache, or you search it off Roots, whatever. Set it, and then once you trigger Thanatos on your own turn, and then once during their turn, get it down to 0 materials, and then this helps you summon Azathoth on their turn. Took me a long time to realize that you don't actually need Wise Tricks for this combo to work. It's kind of wild, honestly. But the fact that you can Azathoth on your opponent's turn, and if you or against Striker, you can summon Nappies on top of that. They actually just cannot play the game. It's ridiculous. And like Azathoth's is super good against like a lot of decks. It helps slow down Geist. It's really good against Thunder Dragons. Like Thunder Dragons have very, very few ways to play through it. Good against BA. Good against like an absurd amount of decks. It's wild. Like Rongo Turbo. Like my goodness. All right, that's it for the spell lineup. It is, I believe, 14 spells. And then the traps are pretty simple. We got one copy of Fob Blade, just additional disruption in case you don't open optimally, or as a way to secure your board from like the elusive normal summon, because priority is OP. One copy of Shade Brigandine. Really good extender. Sometimes if you hard draw this, it helps you make Curious, which is really valuable. And then sometimes you can also use this as a way to extend and get like more rank 4s or level 4s on board to make rank 4s. After you make Bardache, you can use it to make a rank 4 linked to the Bardache to pop Tiger. Tiger get another monster, and then if you have like Gold Bulb, you can like help make Nappies and stuff. Really good. And the one copy of Serenade Dance, the card that helps tie things together. The deck could probably still function if this card was never released, but this card just makes things like it just takes the deck ceiling and raises it exponentially, which is crazy. So that's gonna be it for these cards. The traps, only 3 traps. The extra deck is, I would say, kind of simple. We have one of each of these fusions, Leo and Panther. We're not running Saber or Cat Dancer. There's no space. But like if you're comboing off in your first turn, you just dump this easily, and then Wolf helps you set up, or help you set up for Wolf for the Leo Dancer. Leo Dancer is good when you can follow up and your board's already insane turn 1. So like their board is weak enough to where Leo Dancer can just go in and kill them. So that's it for the fusions. We're playing the one Nat Beast. I'm also proxying this card just because I don't own one. Yeah, this card is just really good against Striker. That's kind of all there is to say to that. It's also good against, you can also make it against maybe like Pendulum if you're able to make Azathoth, stuff like that. So yeah, Nat Beast, really solid card. Then we get to the Link monsters, which are a lot of the play enablers and toolboxing options. So we play the one copy of Wee Witch. This card, I don't like that I have to play it, I feel. But there are just certain hands where you need the Dark Link 2 to be able to get another type on board for Curious. It just, sometimes the attack boost comes up. That's not super relevant. The recycling's okay too, but just the fact that it's a dark, like in this deck it's generic, it's a spellcaster. I hate that it's used for what it is instead of what it does, and that it's kind of necessary to have that role filled in. But here we are. We have the one Reaper Docus. This is how you make Nat Beast. Literally, we have so many or level 4s in this deck, so just turn one of them to an Earth. It's all hunky dory. Got the one Rusty Barshay. This card's really easy to make. Even if you don't find yourself making Curious, because like you don't open any of your toolboxing options, like any of your Dangers or Warriors, totally fine. You can just make this card instead. Instead of Fogblade, you can go ahead and make like Even Sword Nightmare and stuff. Good things. Got the one copy of Curious. This is really how the deck functions at its core. You really need this card to make a lot of your explosive boards. And then some toolbox. We got Nightmares. So we got Phoenix and Unicorn. I don't think Cerberus is that necessary, honestly, because there's enough destruction in like the monster department that it's kind of redundant. You're afraid of back row more than anything, so these just help get rid of back row. And then we got the Boros Sword, which might seem a bit overkill with like Leo Dancer, but there are some instances where you can't make Leo Dancer where it's not optimal, so you just want to have this as a backup. Alright, so that's it for the Link monsters in this deck, and I am making a big mess. Alright, moving on to the Xyz monsters, which are also very, very important. We have the 1/4 Strix. This is one of the materials that you'll be having for Curious a lot of the time. It's really, really, really important to have. Like searching Zephyros used to not be that great, but now we have so many ways to dump stuff in a grave that it's like very, very good. We have the Thanatos to rank up into Azathoth with the rank up magic launch. And then wait, I mean, like spewing out some of that in your opponent's turn, I just think that's crazy. Like with Y-Strix, there are combos where you can each up execs of your opponent, which I might showcase later on this week or next week. But yeah, having access to Azathoth even without Y-Strix right now, just crazy. And then we have toolboxing rank 4s. We got Nightmare and Tornado Dragon. I'm still a big advocate of Tornado Dragon. I think it's just really good to, be able to clear threats before you enter battle phase in your following turn. I would probably make this against Altergeist, stuff like that. So yeah, that's gonna be it. And I do want to mention some honorable mentions. So I'm just gonna go through them in a way that I hope makes sense. So I've already talked about these two. This I think is just good against matchups where Nat Beast isn't good. That's the TLDR. We have this guy, the Firefighting Darumidal, Underclock Taker, which, I mean, if you wanted to play this card, you could cut Wee Witch's Apprentice for it. I wouldn't honestly blame you. Sometimes the Sideways Arrow actually is nice for extending link plays. And we have a Dweller, which I would honestly probably side, like, regardless. Just hits a lot of decks. Now you might be thinking, well, if you're using Azathoth, like, on your opponent's turn anyway, like, does this, like, not matter? It could come up to where, like, you need to use this on your own turn as well. Or against decks like True Draco, I would definitely try and make this Nat Beast against True Draco, for sure. So yeah, definitely good options to consider. This is really good because not only does it help break back row, it helps you extend plays because you're popping Tiger. The only bad thing is it just doesn't do anything going first, which, given how tight space is, I want to accelerate first turn plays as much as possible. So with that out of the way, let's go on to some of the more interesting choices. So Foolish Burial Goods, one of the most controversial picks in Lunalight. So I think in the Y-Strix build, this card is staple, first and foremost. Since every combo is a 2-card combo in that deck, essentially, having more ways to get to there, even if you're taking a minus, is fine if you essentially win the game. With this build, though, it's a little different. The dangers create a lot of variance. There's a lot of things that could change depending on how your hand shapes up. You kind of have to be a bit creative. But I think there is an argument to be made for this card and this sort of build, because pitching Perfume does two things. First, it allows you to make use of your Curious in different ways that doesn't involve the trifecta. And what I mean by that is sending Bulb or sending Destrudo, depending on which one you play. That's really, really handy. You would rather not have to resort to using Curious to send Perfume, just because, like, your ceiling is then kind of diminished a bit, especially if you feel you need to make Nat Beast, because then you're sacrificing one or the other sort of play, and that's really just not very good. This helps alleviate that problem. The other thing it does is dumping Perfume allows you to pitch a danger monster if you get stuck, and like you have a danger without like Greffer, but you like really just want a play started in some form or another. So then you're basically just guaranteed a monster on board, which is really, really good. So this is actually one of the first cards I would try and fit in. Probably wouldn't play a 3, just because it would clog horribly. But it is something that I would consider at probably 2. I just don't know what I would cut for it, to be honest. Alright, so here's an interesting choice for the side deck. Magical Midbreaker Field. Now, what does this card do? Essentially, we're playing like Goki almost. Like the boards that we can make are really, really strong. I don't know about this format, but the next, like whenever we get Y-Strix, like it becomes so simple to know what your win condition is because it's Tiger plus Kaleido, or any way to get to those cards, or like Perfume Kaleido, Perfume Armageddonite, etc. So with that in mind, if those are your plays, and you know that's your win condition. This can just help you make sure that you get there. Really good stuff. And then the last card is the Lunalight Fusion. Now, what does this do? I would consider citing this for going second, and the reason is that we have so many ways to dump the Yellow Martin via card effect. We have Foolish, we have Greffer, we have Armageddonite, we have Emerald Bird for a hard-drawn one to cycle through. So with this being easily searchable, you have a lot of ways to not only get a Leo Dancer onto the field, like that's cool and everything, but like you don't need that. What's cooler with that is that this lets you send stuff like Emerald Bird to grave really easily, so you get more extenders on board. Like having Leo Dancer is a big threat too. That doesn't hurt, but you just want a lot of like toolboxing options. And I think this is good to side for going second potentially. Right. And then the last couple of honorable mentions are. I honestly shouldn't really need to explain these cards very much. They're just side cards that you could play in the main deck. So Ash, Twin Twisters, Impermanence, and Red Reboot. You could throw an Evenly Matched in here too if you wanted to. The battle phase for this specific iteration of the build isn't as important as a pure variant, but I still like it just because like having the battle phase is neat. But if you were so inclined to go ahead and use Evenly Matched, then more power to you. Well, that's going to be it for this video. This went on for way too long, but I think in comparison to my last video, the Altergeist video, I hopefully explain myself a bit more. I don't sound as tired, hopefully. Yeah, let me know what you guys think. I think this deck is like really, really interesting and not intuitive, and I will probably also upload a combo video, not tutorials, but rather just me shuffling my deck and then drawing 5 cards and then seeing what we can do with it. And in fact, I might just record that video right now. So thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below, and I'll catch you in the next one.